about 90 countries outside of the United States. I'm usually outside of the United States, right? I'm all over Asia, 18 or 19 years across Asia, another, I don't know, 5 years in the Middle East, another 6, 7 years in Europe. I'm all over the place all the time, right? So I see a lot of things. And when I'm in China, I've never seen so much racism in my life. That's why Hong Kongers will call the Han Chinese Chi Nazis. And I'm going somewhere with this. What's a Nazi? A Nazi is fascism is when government and business is, industry is so entwined that they're inseparable. It's like salt water. You can't, what's the difference between seawater, salt, and sea, and all the other stuff in there? It's all mixed, right? That's fascism when they're inseparable. Like the FDA is clearly part of pharma, or is it pharma's part of FDA? They're inseparable, right? And now that's fascism. Nazism is just take fascism and add on, about a meter of topsoil of racism, right?
Right.
That is Nazism, right? So that's why the Hong Kongers, the Cantonese speaking Hong Kongers, they have a completely different culture. I can tell them apart, by the way. I've spent so much time in Asia. I can tell Hong Kongers, and I can tell them apart from mainland Chinese. They look different from me. Their body language is different. They act differently. Plus, they speak Cantonese instead of Mandarin, right? They speak completely different languages. So that's why the Chinese Communist Party wishes to wipe out or at least absorb all these Cantonese speakers. For instance, now you see in Hong Kong, the Confucius Institute there at the University of Hong Kong. I was there when the students took over the university. It was epic. You can see some of the videos online with thousands of Molotovs being thrown and that sort of thing. It was unbelievable. So I was there in the Confucius Institute there. I've been in the Confucius Institute down the road from me here in Panama City, right? Confucius Institute. I've been fighting them for years. The Confucius Institute is a spy recruitment tool that Chinese Communist Party uses, and they install classrooms and play all these big universities throughout the United States, huge universities, all the top ones, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, here in Panama City. And what they do is they recruit the children of the elite. They do the same in Hong Kong, and they get them over to China. They'll give them scholarships, and they get them, for instance, the Hong Kongers, they say, you can't speak Cantonese anymore. Cantonese is a dying language. It's a primitive language for primitive people. That's what they brainwash them to turn against their own culture, right? So that's what's happening with the Chinese Communist Party and their Confucius Institutes. They use the mousetrap. Mice means, that's a counterintelligence term, money, ideology, coercion, ego, right? They use these techniques that, the four main cheeses for the mousetrap are money, ideology, coercion, and ego. So they get these young students over to China studying these things, and then they go back to their own countries, whether it's Germany or Netherlands or wherever, and they become big members of government and bureaucracy. Where am I going to with this? Chinese Communist Party and World Economic Forum have intermediate goals that coincide. They overlap greatly on the Venn diagram. For instance, destabilize the United States, destabilize Japan, destabilize all of Europe, right? Borders don't exist type stuff. But at the end of the day, now the World Economic Forum, they want to have this global government with a greatly decreased population, and they are going to get a greatly decreased population. That's clear, right? We don't know how much, but it's clearly coming. The food shortages and whatnot are clearly coming, right? But at the end of the day, the Chinese Communist Party and the World Economic Forum will get a divorce, and it'll be a bloody divorce, because the Chinese Communist Party are ultra racist. They are literally, as the Hong Kongers call them, Chi Nazis. If you look on my Twitter page and that upper banner up there, it says Chi Nazis. That's a photo I took during the fighting in Hong Kong. The Chinese Communist Party wishes to make the world Han Chinese, and they actually have the numbers and technology to do it. For instance, they have weaponized the disease called dengue, which is spread by a mosquito, right?
Right.
And this, yeah, and they've actually have drones that can spread this and this sort of thing, that can spread the mosquitoes and that sort of thing, right? And actually, if you call me on my phone, my ringer is that species of mosquito. It's called Aedes aegypti, right? Because dengue there's a massive dengue outbreak here. Anopheles mosquitoes spread malaria. There's massive malarial outbreaks here in Panama. And when I talk with the Embera Indian, I spend a lot of time with the Indians down there, Kuna, Embera, Wunan. They have massive malaria now because one of the leaders, actually a mayor of 29 Embarrassment villages. His name is Francisco Agape. He's an Embarrassment Indian. He told me before the migration. I just had dinner with him a couple of weeks ago. He said, I know him well. I go out to the jungle with him all the time. But he said before the migration, we had maybe 1 or 2 cases of malaria per year. And this is in Darien Gap, right? He said, so when somebody got malaria, we all talked about it, right? He said, but now everybody's getting malaria. My wife got malaria. She was at the dinner table with him. She was okay now, but and they're getting there's different types of malaria, just like there's different types of dengue, right? And some of the types, the type that's really spreading down here thickly now is a really terrible type of malaria. It kills people. Also, the children are getting a lot of waterborne illnesses now. The Imbra, the Kuna, and the Wunan Indians, they all live on the rivers. Anyway, not to go into that. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, who's funding all this? The United States government is clearly funding it. Mayorkas came down here with the Southcom commander, commanding general in April. In fact, weirdly, she just sent me a message this morning. The Southcom commanding general sent me a message some hours ago, right? They see what's happening down here. And I don't know what the nature is of the communication, but I responded. So, but the bottom line is our military is also involved in helping people get through, right? They're clearly involved, deeply involved. And the United States government, I call it the occupation government of the United States, is the main driving force behind why are they going through South America, by the way?